Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And, yes, it's a little dark over here. It's raining, okay? There's not much I can do about it. So, in week 5, as we're already a quarter way through the season, there's always a question of, what's going on with this team? What's going on with that team? What's going on in the games? So, let's do the recap of sorts. So, understand the Saints Chiefs have not played yet. They play Monday night. So we will have a recap of that on Wednesday. So let's begin with, I was surprised this game was a 1 o'clock game, by the way. I said that on the podcast. I believe I said that on Wednesday as well. Where it was the Ravens versus the Bengals, and the Ravens ended up winning 41-38. Here's the problem of this game, as there are a few. Before that big run by Derrick Henry in overtime, he didn't do much of anything. And that was evident. Before the defense of the Ravens just decided they were going to play tough in this late stages of the game, they were allowing a lot. Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase took the Ravens to school for most of this game. 38 points. The problem with the Bengals, and I've said this, everyone's saying, oh, this is new information. No. This is not new. I saw it in the Washington game. Jayden Daniels, every time there would be a drive, and Cincinnati had him on a third down, would find a way to convert. Every time, convert. And continuously extend the drive. And then on that last play that put the game out of reach, he throws a beautiful ball, Daniels does, against the blitz, one-on-one, with his star player in Terry McLaurin. And it's a touchdown, and that ends the game. That's not on Joe Burrow. That's not on Joe Burrow. You can blame a lot on Joe Burrow. You can't blame defense on Joe Burrow. And I hate when people do that. Blaming the quarterback. Blaming the quarterback for the misdeeds of the defense. It's not fair. It's not them. It's like when people blame other people that their ancestors did something wrong. Why are you blaming me? I didn't do anything. That's the point. That's the same exact point. You can't. It's not them. It's not Ja'Marr Chase. It's not the run game's fault. The offense is clicking. The defense is bad. They can't get pressure. They have to blitz more. Well, when you blitz more, it's less people in coverage. When you do that, it's easier, quicker throws. Typically. But then you can say, well, let's just stay in coverage. Well, if you stay in coverage, you can't get there. Quarterback has all the time in the world and can then figure out what you're doing and get the ball to the right guy. So you are in a lose-lose situation. Having said that, the Ravens find themselves in the same situation. They were down 10 late in the game and fought their way back. Get this game tied, have a chance to go and win it in overtime. And they fumbled the snap. They botched the snap. and nearly give Cincinnati the win. And Cincinnati should have won. They should have won. But because of another botch snap from the holder of the Bengals, where he actually catches the ball and then just drops it before he puts it to the ground, which messes McPherson up, in which they don't make that field goal. That's, and you could just see Joe Burrow like completely like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And then the walk-off field goal from Tucker that won him the game. You could just see the exhaustion of it. And there is going to have to be a change. There's got to be something different for the Bengals. You can't keep doing this. And I said this before in this year. If your offense can score 35, you're supposed to win games. But if your defense gives up 38, it don't matter. Same thing happened here. Your offense scored 38. Your defense gave up 41. Can't win games that way. And props to Lamar. He made some nice throws. He threw a ball to Isaiah Likely where he's stiff arming. I think it's Hubbard twice and then just flips it back and said, Isaiah, you go get. And he makes a great grab at the back line of the end zone. It's a great job. But there's a lot. There's a lot into that as well. So I don't think it was a great game scoring wise. Not a good game defense, which we might get to a defensive game very, very shortly. Next up, Bills, Texans. Texans played well until Nico Collins got hurt. And then it was a slugfest. And it was kind of like two drunk people trying to fight. It was like that. It was brutal. The run game I thought was solid for the Texans. The Bills, look, this game, and I said this before, I said this against the Ravens last week. They don't have a number one. Shaquille got hurt, so he's not playing. Keon Coleman was your best receiver. He had one catch, 49 yards. That was it. One catch, 49 yards, one touchdown. That was all in one play. They couldn't get him the ball. Josh Allen went 9 of 30 or 9 of 31, depending on where you go. He was horrible. He was horrible. He made a lot of mistakes. Didn't play well. Should have had a couple turnovers, but didn't. And it comes down to a Keanu Fairbairn field goal. But before we get into that, the Texans punt the ball. It's too far for a field goal. It was gonna be like a 63-yard attempt. So they punted away. They pinned the Bills inside the 10-yard. The Bills have a chance to win this game, or they have a chance to play for overtime. One of the two. They're out of timeouts. The Bills are. The Texans still have all three. And a terrible job of clock management. We blame Mike McCarthy for this. We blame all these other coaches for this. Sean McDermott, this was bad. You had a 16-second drive, all in total. You decided 3 straight times we're going to throw the football. And no in-breaking routes, really tough contested balls. What the last one Josh Allen skips in. Like, it's a 16-second drive. They threw the ball 3 times. Run it, try to play for overtime, and hope the Texans don't call timeouts. Or run it when they take timeouts. Okay, it's going to take about 4 seconds for you to run a play anyway. So you run 3 plays, you go, hey, 12 seconds or whatever. It's going to take a bit. you might get 20 seconds off the clock at best, then punt the ball away, which takes another 4 or 5 seconds. So now you take anywhere between 20 to 25 seconds off the clock. So now they only have 5 seconds. It's a deep throw, or they're kneeling it down going forward. Instead, we're throwing it 3 straight times. They punt the ball back with 16 seconds to go. Robert Woods, the crafty veteran that he is, was playing punt return. He said, okay, I can get 13 yards and make it so we only need one completion, call timeout, and kick the field goal. Which is what he did. He got 13, goes straight north and south, picks up 13. They run a quick play, get about 5, call timeout, get Fairbairn out there, and he kicks the game winner. It was not a pretty game. There was not many pretty games. A lot of upsets according to who was favored in this game were going to win, such as the Dolphins. Even though it was by 1 point, the Dolphins won this game 15-10. It was not pretty. I'm not going to say it is. They had a blocked field goal. They had um, they had a couple bad plays, but the Patriots were worse. Patriots were worse, and that's what's got to be said. The Patriots aren't great either. And I said the Dolphins were going to win. So I think if you actually go through it, I am 4-1 up to this point this week, which puts me, I think, at 16-13. I think. Yeah, I'd have to go back and do the math, but I think it's 16-13. Yeah, the Dolphins didn't play great. The Patriots didn't play great. Jacoby Brissett, actually, I thought had a nice game. But look, and every time Fox has Gronk on, they ask him this question. I think he answers it very well. Why would you put a rookie back there and beat him up on a really bad team? Don't do that. And Gronk gave an explanation of Jim Plunkett, the guy who played for the Boston Patriots way back in the day, in the 70s. And then it got beat up there. Goes to the Niners. The Niners were not a good football team at the time. Gets beat up there. Goes to the Raiders in a last-ditch effort and ends up winning 2 Super Bowls with that team. So, at the end of the day, with Tom Flores as the head coach, at the end of the day, don't put Drake May out there. It's not worth it. The offensive line is still an issue. I've said that. It doesn't help that they lost 2 guys. They had a nice run by Stevenson, who I thought played well after quote-unquote getting demoted before this game. I thought he played well. Actually had a 30-plus yard touchdown on the ground, so that was nice. Just, again, I don't like this offense. I don't think it's good. I think they struggle too much. And the Dolphins, I still think there's problems. But, you're playing with your third, fourth string quarterback. Depends how you look at it, because they also have Tim Boyle. So, this isn't great. Just the way it is. Next up, Cardinals versus the 49ers. 7.5 was the favorite for the 49ers, and the Cardinals ended up winning 24-23. Here's my thing, and I think this has to be said about Kyle Shanahan. Because it's the second time, I think, in 3 weeks that this has happened to them, where they're up late in the game, and all they need is a stop, and they're unable to get it. They're unable to get it. They are up 10 points. And I only started watching this game when the score was 23-17, or 23-21, excuse me, 23-21, my bad. And not only did this 49er team not score in the fourth quarter, they didn't score in the second half. That's bad. Their last point of this game was a blocked field goal that they returned for a touchdown. And that was late in the second quarter. There's problems. There's problems. And again, this is the same thing that happened with the 49ers against the Rams. Where they're up late, they need a stop, they're unable to get one. This happened a few weeks ago. Gotta figure it out, 49ers. Gotta figure it out. It's too hard to win games if you play like that. If you're up 10 or up 14 or whatever you're up and you lose, that's a problem. I almost cursed here. I'm sorry, I'm very exhausted, which we'll get to in a little bit. Brock Purdy throws 2 interceptions in this game. Kyler Murray has a big run that puts the Cardinals on the board. He outruns everybody. The Cardinals end up coming back in this game, where they basically have, okay, it's a run by Kyler, but if it's not there, they're going to have a guy float out, and they can throw him the ball. And they did, and it worked. It's such a tough play, as Tom Brady was saying in the game. It's such a tough play to do that. It's tough to defend, it's tough to teach, it's tough to do anything. And that's the best way I can explain that. But the 49ers still have a chance. They're near the goal line. They can go score and put this game out of reach, right? And then they fumble. Mason, who's been very good as a player for them, they throw a screen to him, I think, and he fumbles. Gets punched out, recovered by the Cardinals, and Cardinals go down the field, converting a 4th down of basically Kyler's just like, Marvin, you go do it. I'm going to have to throw this thing up. Throws it up for Marvin Harrison. He comes down with it. With the defender draped all over. And they continue. And then they end up having to kick a field goal. 49ers use all their timeouts. They had 3. They used them all. And out comes the backup kicker for the Cardinals. Matt Prater got hurt. In comes Chad Ryland, who, if you remember, played for New England the last couple of years, hasn't been great. Drills this kick. Drilled it. And that's score 24-23. Now, why did I say backup kicker? I technically should have said backup kickers. Because Jake Moody in this game, the 49ers kicker, got hurt. He's hurt. Meaning their punter, Mitch Wishnowsky, is now the emergency kicker. They didn't want to take that opportunity. They didn't want to take that risk that he could make a kick. So that's probably made a difference with their play calling. But then the 49ers have the ball. They have enough time. They have enough time to get a couple good plays in, go down the field, spike the ball, and attempt a kick, I guess, or attempt a deep throw or something. Hopefully something crazy happens. And then a great blitz call by Gannon hits Brock Purdy in the arm. Ball flutters out in the middle of Kittle and I don't remember who the other guy was. I think it was Mason. And Kaiser White, who came over, when Gannon came to the Cardinals. Intercepts the ball. Game over. Cardinals win. It was an extremely hot day, too. It was like over 100 degrees. It was just bad. All of it. But the 49ers, second time this has happened in conference and in division. You're 2-3. I'm concerned if I'm a 49ers fan right now. 2-3, and you play a Thursday night game against Seattle, who's also lost 2 in a row, as they had lost to the Giants. Next up, Cowboys vs. Steelers. Steelers here by 1. The Cowboys ended up winning this game 20-17. Now, there's so many things I could say about this game, but we have to start with weather. They ended up having a weather delay of 85 minutes. This game was supposed to start at 8:15, ends up only starting at about 9:40, 9:45. Like, it was bad. It was raining, it was lightning, it was thundering. And it was to the point I had family over at the house. They ended up leaving because they were like, "What time is this game starting?" Like, are they playing this game tonight? I'm like, they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to play this game tonight because no one has a bye week next week. They have to play this game. It's not like, okay, the Cowboys have a bye week, the Steelers have a bye week all next week. So they can say, okay, yeah, we can just move this game till next week. They can't. So they didn't. They said, okay, we're gonna play this game at 9:45. Which it stopped raining, stopped thundering. And with all the storms that happened over the past week, including Hurricane Helene, which hopefully everyone is okay. I know there's been a massive death toll of that too. So hopefully everyone's family is okay. And that they actually do something. I know there was not much you could do in them doing, but the aftermath, hopefully there's something they can do. So it was this storm that happened pretty unexpected. It was 82 degrees in the afternoon and then just a massive rainstorm for an hour and a half. But they made it work. They go out in the field. Not as much slipping as I thought it would be, actually. Um, Look, both these teams have been struggling. Dallas has lost 2 of their last 3. Pittsburgh lost last week, ending their undefeated season. So something's got to give on Sunday Night Football. They also said this is the first time these 2 teams have played in prime time since 1982, which I couldn't believe. Like, this is a rivalry, and like they've only played, I think, the amount of 34 times, including last night. 34 times. So it's not much of a rivalry. They just don't play very often. But they go and they're playing, and I have to preface this by saying, look, the Steelers have offensive line injuries. The right tackle, or the right guard is out. Their left guard, Suamalo, he comes back. This was his NFL season debut. They've had some issues at tackle, but it was okay last night. They're banged up. They had 2 running backs, Patterson and Warren, were not playing. So there were some injuries there. On the defensive side for the Cowboys, DaRon Bland still out. Kalen Carson, who was the backup for him, was out. They're playing a practice squatter, Amani Oruwariye, who actually didn't talk much about last night. So I was impressed with that, of how well he played. He's a 5th-year player out of Penn State. I believe he's on his 15th in 5 years, so that tells you something. Micah Parsons is out, DeMarcus Lawrence is out, Marshawn Nealon, the rookie that they drafted, he gets hurt on the first drive. So you're playing guys who are back end of the roster, practice squad guy. Who you playing? That's tough. But they got pressure somehow, which I was impressed with. They ended up going and saying, okay, we got Chauncey Golston, we got Tyrus Wheat, we got Linval Joseph, we got Carl Lawson. We're gonna try and get pressure. They ended up getting 3 sacks. That was impressive enough. So I was worried about how they were going to get pressure and how they were going to stop Pittsburgh on the ground game. They actually did both things very well, I thought. But here's what I took from this game. There's a couple things. Pittsburgh has a good run offense. They're not a great team in terms of, okay, they're going to get big gains, but they have a great volume of run. They don't give up on it. They only had, I believe, 92 yards of total rushing offense, so that's pretty good. Najee Harris had 42 of those. You know, Justin Fields had, I think it was 27 of those. So okay, you did pretty good, all things considered. Let's take those two guys out. You gave up only about 20 yards on the ground. That's really good. You got pressure, but the thing I took from this is, like, first of all, this was Dallas not playing great. They turned the ball over 3 times in the red zone twice. Now, the first one, TJ Watt gets through, gets his 100th career sack, so congratulations to TJ Watt. And Dak ends up fumbling as he gets squished between 2 guys. On the second one, Dak and Lamb aren't on the same page. You could see CD say, my fault, it's on me. It's on me, which commentators made a big thing of. I don't understand why. Like, look, they were not on the same page. I get it. They're just not on the same page. I don't. And the commentators say, Dak's not saying anything. That's interesting. I'm like, no, I think Dak's just trying to stay locked in as much as he can. He doesn't want the emotion of him saying, you know what, that's on me. And he probably did say that beforehand. But look, he's not, like, just because he didn't say anything at that time when the camera shot him, does not mean he didn't say anything. It just means they didn't catch him saying something. And then the third one, that was just, he overthrew his guy. Overthrew it. You're trying to force the ball downfield. It's been one of those offenses of showing. But you have that. The thing that impressed me the most, there was 2 impressive things on the offensive side of the ball, was they ran the ball well. Not just efficiently or they tried to keep him honest. They ran it well. And I know people say, well, it was not perfect. I don't care if it was not perfect. They ran it well. Rico Dowdle, 85 yards, 87 yards, depends on where you go. He had minus 2 yards at one point or another. So you had basically, if you had 2 carries that went -1 yard, -1 yard. So if you take those out per se, 18 carries for 85 yards is really good. He's clearly the better back of the 3 that you had. Ezekiel Elliott had a couple nice runs. I mean, I was more mad at on the last drive. They run like an angle route for Zeke and he ducks. When the ball's right there, he ducks. I'm like, come on, Zeke. He ducked. He moved. I understand he's right there, but he's not in your like path line. catch the ball. Now, it would have been hard for him to get the first down anyway, but they go, Dallas does, and they get it going a little bit. They run the ball. They ran it all night, and they ran it pretty well all night. But what did they do? Well, they didn't just say, run it up the middle. Didn't work. So what did they do? They ran it to the outside. Oh my gosh, they can run the ball to the outside. They're learning. And then what else did they do? They ran duos, which basically means they took two offensive linemen and said, you got 4 guys, we got 6 guys. We're going to take the left tackle, the left guard, the right tackle. We're just going to push your defensive tackles or defensive ends back and create holes so our running backs can go through, which is what the Cowboys have done for years. They've always done that, and they've had success. They just stopped doing it last year. And they got big gains out of it. Keep doing it. It worked. It fits this offensive line well. Keep doing it. They pushed Pittsburgh back, who also had the #1 ranked rushing defense. Just to let you know. They pushed them back. So they did that. It was well done. But then the second thing that really impressed me was they got other guys involved. Jalen Tolbert, he had 13 catches all year. Had 7, including the game winner. Jake Ferguson had a nice game, a nice night. Like a third down, they need a play. It's 3rd and 9. They threw it to Ferguson. He catches it and gets the first down. He was like 4 or 5 yards short, turns around, gets forward, and goes and picks up another 6 or 7. So there you go. Brooks had a nice catch early, but not much from him after. KaVontae Turpin had a couple nice catches. But Tolbert was the guy I was really paying attention to. And on the final drive, I think he had like 3 catches, so he did some good things. But game winner, I mean, let's first set the scene, okay? It's 1st and goal. Time. Stop. It covers of 2 timeouts. They run a read option. Dak gets out of bounds to 1, nearly fumbling into the end zone, actually, but they won the game. Because they didn't have that issue. But then it almost lost it, too. As Rico Dowdle, who had a great night, tries to punch it into the end zone and fumbles after a great play by Landon Roberts. Punches it out, actually, like, runs 6 yards, jumps over the pile like Troy Polamalu used to do in Pittsburgh, knocks the ball out, and because Dak Prescott's there, he recovers it. But now it's like, okay, it's 3rd down. They had to waste the timeout. Here we go. And they throw it. It's incomplete. Dak trying to get the ball to Tolbert in the back of the end zone. And Tolbert slides, but instead of the ball hitting Tolbert in the hands, the ball ends up hitting Tolbert in a very sensitive area. And so Tolbert's kind of like walking funny, and they didn't know if he was going to come out. He ends up trying to stay in the game. And then they ended up taking a timeout anyway, just trying to take him off the field because he can't. He's struggling. He's trying to stretch it out, but he's struggling. So now you gotta think, okay, because there's no Brandon Cooks. He was put on IR. So you got CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, Jalen Brooks, Ryan Flournoy, who's a rookie, who they put out there, and the Steelers called timeout. And you're like, okay. They're just trying to see what the Cowboys were going to do. how they were going to line up. Well, in doing so, that allows Tolbert to come back in the game. He comes back in, and they finally, the Cowboys did. They ran it a couple of times actually. They just couldn't connect on it. They ran mesh, which is okay. We're gonna have wide receivers cross each other. We're just trying to create space. They chip T.J. Watt. They run mesh play. They get a little bit of space. They throw the ball at Tolbert, and he catches it in the end zone, touchdown. And that was the game winner. That was with a little under 20 seconds. So great job by Dak, who didn't play great in this game, but they won this game. The Cowboys did. Again, they don't win these games. So that was very good. And I was looking at because you hear this every time. Who gets the game ball? Who gets the game ball? I mean, and I was looking at this, I'm like, you can give it to Jalen Tolbert. He sacrificed everything for that. You could give it to Dak, who threw the touchdown late. You could give it to the defense. They were playing out of their minds without very key players playing. Like, it could go to a lot of people. It really could. So that was a good showing by the Cowboys. And I guess you couldn't predict anything else than that kind of a battle between the Cowboys and Steelers. You just couldn't. All right, now let's get to the news portion. Let's go quickly here for the news part because we're running a little long, actually. So the news that I want to talk about is Josh Allen went 9-31. They obviously need a wide receiver. Why don't the Bills call the Raiders? Say, hey, look, you want Devontae out. Devontae wants to be out ASAP. You guys said next week. It is next week. Let's make a deal. Let's go do this. Because you got teams who are struggling, but let's go make a deal. We need help. That's why I'm thinking it's very underrated. I mean, Adams did post a picture of Edgar Allan Poe, whose biggest poem was called The Raven. So that's started ringing off bells and whistles. Probably not going to happen. The Raven said they're not that interested. Okay. Besides Buffalo, the other team that could probably use him is the Jets. They didn't play great. Aaron Rodgers, 3 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers actually hit a set. First time in his NFL career, he threw 2 interceptions in a quarter. It's the first time in his NFL career. The guy's played 20 years. Pick 6 to Van Ginkel, and trying to force the ball to, I think it was Lazard, and they're not on the same page. The offense, and I think it was Garrett said it on Sunday Night Football, on Football Night in America, whatever. He said, look, this offense is too simplistic. They saw if we show a blitz, Rodgers is going to go to a slant. So if we just have one guy drop out, he either knocks that away or he gets an interception. And he did. And it was ended up being returned for a touchdown. The second one, okay, wasn't great. He's trying to force the ball. The third one was a late game throw. He tries to throw the ball to the inside, Rodgers does, when he should be throwing it to the outside, which is what the receiver is expecting. And Stephon Gilmore, the savvy veteran, knows that, stays to the inside, goes and makes a play on the ball, interception, game over. So they need Davante Adams too. You can look at it that way. Moving on to the Browns. Stefanski says, we're not changing quarterbacks. We are sticking with Deshaun Watson. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Deshaun was bad initially. I agree. Deshaun needs to be way more consistent. I'm trying to figure out, because every week it's a new thing with this Brown team. it's Deshaun's fault, or it's the wide receivers are not catching these passes going. Is it time for them to switch to Jameis? Yeah, probably. They play Philadelphia next week. You've lost to every team in the NFC East except Philadelphia because you haven't played them yet. That, if you want Deshaun to look, if Deshaun wants to keep his job, he has to win next week. He has to. Now that now they're in a bind, they've guaranteed his contract. So the next 3 years they're stuck. But until that time, play the better player, which is not Deshaun Watson right now. Give James the chance. Give him a couple weeks, and maybe you can get a couple wins and get Deshaun's fire back, and then go back to Deshaun. That's what you do. But right now, yes, make this change. Yeah, Nico Collins got hurt. Hamstring issue, left the game. Returned on the sidelines in sweat, so that's not great for him. Look, we talked about the Drake May situation. I want to talk about this. This is happening in the New England game. Patriots safety Jabril Peppers, who ended up not playing in that game for the Patriots against the Dolphins, was arrested on Saturday on assault charges. That's not great. He has since pleaded not guilty to the charges. New England is a place of um, New England is a place of culture. They don't deal with this well. I only knew about this morning, and it was only because I saw it, and I only saw it even at like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I re-looked at it again at like noon, and he got arrested, and the thing is, he's such an valued asset for this team because he's not just a player on this team; he's the team captain. So if your team captain's doing this is a problem. He's a very well respected player. And Gerard Mayo has been the leader of this defense. Him not being there causes problems. It just does. One thing I didn't say about the Cowboys Steelers game, and I'm gonna say it here to finish it up before we get to the final thoughts. Uh, when the Cowboys and Steelers play, this is always an aggressive game. It's always a very physical game. There was a couple fights, and I thought the officials did a very nice job. I'm actually applauding the officials. This was Sean Hockey's coup. They did a very nice job. They didn't eject anybody. They let him go. Now, granted, there was no punches being thrown, but there was a couple, okay, cheap shot here, cheap shot there. Like, one of the Steelers kind of like grabbed and started to try to twist one of the Cowboys running back's legs. Zach Martin, who's like the big bodyguard in terms of like he plays offensive line, but he's the protector. Him and Tyler Smith are those things. Got there and like shoved him, and I thought the official did a great job not throwing the flag on it, just saying, "Okay, I'm gonna go in there and separate these two," and that was a very nice job. I thought that was very well done. The second one was that they did call a penalty on. I don't think they should have. Like there was a little bit of a shoving match between this Cowboy center Cooper Beebe and one of the defensive linemen. I think it was Benton, I think, or Leo. And Oh, Leal, excuse me, Leal. And Cooper ends up BB ends up getting up and kind of like helmeting tip of his helmet into the chin of the defensive tackle. They called a penalty on that, but I that was kind of incidental. So I just want to look at it from that perspective. But I liked what they did. There was actually a play earlier before the Steelers scored with Freiermuth where Calvin Austin, third, who's like 5'11", 5'8", 5'11", he's in that range, against Jordan Lewis, who's like, I think Austin's actually like 5'8", and I think Jordan Lewis is like 5'11", 6 foot, maybe like 6'1" on a good day. And they're going at each other. They're like grabbing, and Austin's kind of shoving him a little bit, and Jordan's like, okay, and proceeds to knock him to the ground. So I thought the officials did a very nice job, not ejecting these guys. It's not look, it's a physical matchup. Don't need to eject people. They weren't throwing punches. Got in the way of it. It's a good job. And finally, like this is very important, I think. The Jacksonville Jaguars won a game. The last team to win a game was the Jacksonville Jaguars. Winning this game against the Colts. For whatever reason, the Colts can't win in Jacksonville. I don't know what they do. They got to bring some sage, something. They got to do something. At this point, they can't win in Jacksonville. Jacksonville winning that game on a game winner. Joe Flacco actually played in this game, played well, but wasn't enough to defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.